Hi, good day, everybody. Welcome, everybody. It's high noon in H-Town, and we're here for the Lunch and Learn number 4 on completions management system today. So thank you, everybody, for coming in. Let's just give everybody a couple of minutes to get in. And as normal, we'd like to try and make these sessions as interactive as possible. So by all means, any questions, any comments, please interact with us. There's a couple of ways of doing that. One is on the right-hand side in the white panel. There is a chat area at the bottom. Please feel free to chat away. In fact, if you're new to the Lunch and Learns, please just put an L in there just to say that you're a newbie. You know, an L for the Lunch and Learn. And also where you're coming from. So please also mention where you're coming from in today. That'll just give us a bit of practice on chatting away. So again, comments as we go through this, and also questions. We'll answer questions as we go, and we'll stop. And if it's okay with you, we'll bring people in and out. And also, there's an area at the end where we can ask questions as well. So it's nice to see everybody here coming in now. Some new people I see, so great. We'll get going in a minute or two here. Just wait, see if there's any last-minute people coming in.
Armando's back with us. Welcome back, Armando.
All right. Yes. So okay, we'll kick off, and we are recording this, so people that have registered can actually hear it on demand. So we'll get kicked off and see how we go. Today we're going to talk about something that we're very passionate about as a company. It's really our flagship product, which is overlaid on top of our what we call our T3 strategy. T1 being talent, and in the area of completions and commissioning and startup support. The other T being teams of people to do projects, and the final T being technology. So this product actually is overlaid on top of all those 3 T's, and it provides technical integrity, which is something that is extremely important for project managers and projects going forward, which we're going to go through today and have a look at technical integrity and why we have this tool. So, okay. So this is the 4th in a series of Lunch and Learns that we're doing, based on the topic of commissioning on demand. We've looked at tracker technologies in general. Last week we looked at our facilities readiness tool, TrackerPrep, and today, 3rd of September, we're looking at TrackerCheck. There are some further ones, as you can see there. So it'd be great if you are interested in getting any value from these Lunch and Learns, if you could join us for those sessions as well, that'd be great. Okay. So as I said, we pivoted in March to play to the new era that we find ourselves with, major project delivery and execution. And our services now are centered on these 3 critical areas. It's all about, going forward, risk mitigation or risk management there. Also cost efficiency, getting the best out of what we've got in terms of people, processes, and technology. And also maximization, value maximization. So we've built all these 3 things into this thing that we call commissioning on demand. We have a shared vision with our clients, and it's more of a strategic partnership. So this is all part of the series of Lunch and Learns, which is centered really on commissioning on demand. So today's contents of the Lunch and Learn, we've got a panel, the usual panel. So by all means, the questions, we'll answer them the best we can. Anything that we can't answer, of course, we'll get back to you on. We've got a housekeeping slide as normal. We're going to look at some definitions before we start. We're going to go into the concept of CMS, why we have it in the first place, the objectives of our CMS. And then we're going to hand over to Drew, who looks after Tracker Technologies, and he's going to give us a demo on TrackerCheck. And then he's going to take us through some additional functionality. Now, recognizing that it's a pretty well-trodden path, the CMS path. There is a lot of tools out there, but we think we've got the secret sauce, and that's why we've got a special section on what we call the added value or the added functionality there. And then there's a case study to show you, and then we can wrap up with any Q&A, any questions, and also next steps. There is an opportunity at the end. This again will not be a very in-depth demo on TrackerCheck, but there is an opportunity at the end where we can tailor a demonstration to suit your specific needs and really get into some detail, have a deep dive into it. Okay. So the panel, we've got Ricky, who's our CEO. Ricky's here on the left-hand side there. Myself in the middle, Martin Canham. And we've got Andrew Rachel, who's our director for Tracker Technologies. So here we go. So a little bit of housekeeping. As I said earlier, we are recording this session. It will be available on demand at our website for anybody that wants to kind of share it or maybe go back and replay certain things that you want to have a listen to again. We're going to aim for probably, I would say we're probably going to need all of those 45 minutes today. Some are a little shorter, some are a little longer, but let's see how we get on today. And the usual things, we've gone through the questions, how to ask your questions, and please just make it clear if you want to raise a comment. We can certainly bring you in. Quite frankly, it enriches the whole process if you do that as well. So, hey Chris from Down Under, nice of you to join us. Thanks for that. Yep, okay. So again here, we're quite proud at Rev1 here that we've gone end-to-end with the systems completion, pre-commissioning, commissioning, into operations, end-to-end digitalization. So our products go right the way from design. If you look at the graphic on the right-hand side, we go with 3 tools all the way from design through procurement, construction, CSU, into operations and decommissioning. So today, we're going to be talking about TrackerCheck, which is the green item. And actually, TrackerCheck does start halfway through design. So it's same procurement there. I guess it does start, as soon as we start to get those long lead items in and the checklist go into the subcontracts. But we do start in design and we go all the way through to operations. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So here we go, just to reaffirm, we went over this, we've gone over this for a couple of days, but it's very, very important. Digitalization versus digitalization. So the first one here converts analog, so more or less dumb data, and it encodes it into ones and zeros, so it can be stored, processed, and transmitted on computers. That's digitalization. Now, digitalization below is more transformational. It's more than just making existing data digital. It embraces the technology, the ability of the technology to collect the data, establish trends, and make better business decisions. So, Ricky, you've got a great example of this that you shared, I think it was week before last. Maybe you could just give us that example again so we can get our head around this.
Yeah, I think in its most simple form, it's basically from the initial data input, you're starting from a digital standpoint as opposed to an analog standpoint. So as part of your digitalization journey, you're trying to digitally transform the business process from the very beginning. So that's really what we're all about, is trying to start from the earliest standpoint, the earliest point in the project, to try and digitalize everything so that it flows freely. And with all that digital information, you can report on it. You have historical records, you have tracking, you have auditing purposes, all that go with it. So it's very, very valuable and very powerful if you can do it right.
We've seen some people there just take the existing sheets and just turn them into a digital format and try and do something with it. And again, at the end of the day, it's still dumb data. We're using smart data now. So digitalization is the key. And what's your analogy, Ricky, about the forging versus the printer?
So I think in terms of how we took the design philosophy of our software. We've designed it more in terms of the 3D printing model, where you're additive manufacturing as opposed to the old style CNC milling or something like that, where you start with a rigid block and you mill pieces out to arrive at what you're trying to get to. You have a lot of excess waste that's still around all of that information. So in terms of software, the old style software is a big block that you have to really refine and get down to a certain point, but you're always going to be stuck with things that you're not really thrilled with. You know, they don't quite fit your workflow. Well, we want to start from the bottom and build our way up. So we build it exactly how your workflow happens. You know, we integrate seamlessly into your workflow, and that's a really big differentiator, I think, in terms of our software compared to the others.
Yeah, great example. Yeah.
What we say typically is we build for the future. You know, our software is built for the future. It isn't the future. It's built for the future. So we continue to innovate.
Yeah. So the digital printer just prints exactly what you want. No waste, no redundancy, just the end product. It's a press of a button. So yeah, good example. Okay. So we mentioned technical integrity, which is one of the main components of why we got a CMS. Now, the various kind of definitions, and I suppose there's not one definitive definition, but certainly, you know, the definition here is ensures that there will be no harm done to people or damage to the environment or the equipment by anything that we do on the project. So in short, you know, we're always taught as kind of young engineers, what technical integrity means is keep hydrocarbons in the pipe. So it's manufactured, it's installed, it's commissioned in line with the design envelope and also the build standards. So that's basically what we mean by technical integrity. And we're not putting anybody in harm's way, not people, nor the damage to the equipment, the asset, or the environment. Extremely, extremely important. So without the CMS, it's really a throw of the dice if we actually achieve this without proper management systems. So this is what it's kind of all about. Anybody got any comments on that at all at the moment, or are we okay? Let me just see if make sure that we're okay. Okay, good. So the concept is to specify up front. So we're not reactive, we are proactive, and we specify to our subcontractors and the internal project management team, and we carry out, and then we record inspection checks that are predetermined at the installation, the pre-commissioning, and the commissioning phases of the project. So you can imagine, you know, on the project, there's a raft of information, a raft of inspection and check sheets that we need to fill out. And without a proper management system, we all know how that goes. So that's the whole concept behind why we're doing what we're doing. Okay. So the specific objectives here, one, we've mentioned technical integrity. The other is a means of data collection, raft of information. Having all the information in one place is always the key to good project management. So being able to put all the information in, file right, find right, and that floods down to traceability. So if anybody asks us about what did we do here, there's a full audit trail. And then it manages the handovers. So the handover validation, the handover as we go from construction to pre-commission to commissioning to operations. All those handovers are all specified, and we're able to validate all the way. It's a way of digitalization. So as we said earlier, a way to digitally act smart and use the data and start using the data once we've collected it to have insights and trends. And also schedule management. If things move, as they often do with construction, what's the impact on what we're doing in systems completion and commissioning? Some objectives. I'm sure there are more, but that's the main objectives. Okay. And then really, just before I hand over to Drew for the demo, these are really the objectives that we set out for Tracker Technologies going back to 2008. Two keywords there, safety and productivity. That's what we're all about at Tracker Technologies. This floods into all our products. So what we wanted there is great user experience. We wanted the experience that people use with their work tools to be the same experience that they have with their personal electronics. So a great user experience. If it's not great, people are not going to use it. Before we even talked about technology, we optimized the process. So we optimized the systems completion, pre-commissioning, commissioning process manually. We got rid of all the redundancy and all the waste, optimized the workflow, and then built the technology around it, which is a key differentiator. Mobility and connectivity, obviously, as you're going to see today, we're extremely mobile and we can connect to most tools, I would say. Drew will expand on that. Easy to use and adoption, rapid implementation when we get the 5-minute warning, and then we can have all 1 to 5, but if we don't have number 6, the whole thing's been a waste of time. So superior client support is what we over-index on. So when our clients want something changed or a requirement, we're there. So 1 to 6. And I think with that, Drew, I can hand over to you. And if you could please take us through.
All right. Appreciate it, Mark.
Thank you.
Go ahead and share my screen. And just let me know when you can see the screen, Mark.
Yep, we got it up.
All right, good deal.
Any questions at the moment, guys, before we move on to Drew? Are we okay? Any comments, any questions? I'm not sure I can see the questions there. MSO, if there's any questions, please let us know, eh?
We're good to go for now.
Good to go for now. Very good. Okay, Drew, thank you.
All right. So what we're going to show today, I'm not going to run you through how CMS software works. Not going to drag you through an hour demo. We're just going to highlight some key areas of some of the processes that we've taken and how we've implemented digitalization. So I'll show you some of the core functionality, and then we're going to go ahead and send an ITR out to the mobile app, capture a punch list item, that type of thing, and then show it how it works through the process. We are well aware that not all companies are fully on board with the digitalization process. Some of them are pure paper, some want pure digital, and some want a combination of both. It's really mostly client-driven, depending on the project. So we knew we couldn't have all of one, none of the other. So we do have a hybrid model, so you can mix and match even on the same project. So you don't have to make that decision and just stick with it throughout the project. So what I'm going to show today, we're just going to talk about some of the kind of the infrastructure here, and then start dealing with the mobile app and show how that interacts. All projects start off from a CMS standpoint at the tag level. You start gathering up your tags, all your engineering list, and you combine that data, and you start doing your systemization where you're breaking up these tags into the usable, testable groups. Pretty much everywhere I've been in the different industries, power, oil and gas, petrochem, renewables, they all do a version of this. Some of them don't take it up to the system level, but most do. So we're looking at the tag page here. And if you notice right off the bat, you're looking at something that resembles a spreadsheet. So that's one of the things we try to keep in the software. Is kind of a spreadsheet feel, because that's how most of the field people are used to dealing with the data. Pretty much all the engineering lists are hand to them in spreadsheets. And so we do have a spreadsheet interaction. So if I wanted to get tags in and out of this system, I could export a spreadsheet here, take my engineering list data, bring it onto that spreadsheet and import it back in. And there's some intelligence to the import process where it's validating the data. Doesn't allow you to bring in duplications. Still nothing really different than most CMS softwares. Some of the key things that you will notice is I've already got multiple pages open. Got the project page, the tag page. We approach this from the ground level of how a user uses the software. So I was actually in the field on projects, and I've used software where they limit you to one page at a time. There's a specific web design philosophy behind that, and it makes a lot of sense, except if you're the user. So we don't limit you to one page. We do realize you're going to be hopping around between data and comparing items. So we're going to take our tag information here, and we mentioned that we can get data in and out via spreadsheets. We can also tie right to your data source. So if you have an engineering 3D model like a Aviva or some of the other ones out there, we can actually tie into the 3D model and pull that data over and either directly dump it into the system or give you a review page so you can analyze the data before it comes in. So that's some of our connectivity. But a normal project, you get your engineering list, you compile them, you systemize them, you break them into subsystems, break those into systems. And so we're going to take a look at that real quick. So here we're showing that this top tag here, which we're going to focus on, is in the ACI 13 subsystem. And if we go pull up the subsystem and then the system with it, you can see that subsystems are driven by turnover dates. This one has a very simplistic turnover structure right now. It's just a turnover from construction to the commissioning group and then commissioning to operations. So this is more of a power layout, but it can be a streamlined oil and gas. These columns are customizable. So we have a ton of background fields that we can expose to you. So if you have a more complicated turnover structure, like you're actually doing LD dates, liquidation damage dates. So if you go over certain dates, contractors will incur costs and whatnot. You can track those in here as well. We're just showing a simplified structure. Now, subsystems typically have phases. You can break this into utilities, gas, air, that type of thing. So you can break it down to phases. And we also have another column that you can use for grouping. But the subsystems roll up into systems. There's the ACI system, and it has its own turnover dates as well. And again, there's a whole host of dates that go along with that. Now, once you're looking at some of this data, you can go ahead and row expand and take a look at supporting information, like all the drawings for that subsystem, any certificates that have been issued and closed out, etc. So we try to give a kind of one-stop shop. So if you're on subsystems, you're able to get all the information about that subsystem. Same if you're on tags. There's a lot of ongoing information below that. So this particular tag, we have these two tests assigned to it. We have a punch item associated with it, a direct attachment. So what this would be is if you have like vendor data or very specific items, like if this were a skid, you'd have the skid certification, the FAT test, maybe the actual manual for that. You can upload it directly against the tag if you wanted to. And then you got the any completed ITRs. And from here, you can actually download these, take a look at them, open them up. That particular ITR is this one right here, and we're actually going to show this on the mobile device when we get to that point. If you notice, it's got the standard information at the top, the name of the test, the data-driven tag number, and this one has a bunch of checkboxes plus some data that you fill in and some signature blocks. It's important to remember that when we get to the mobile portion. And then you got your preservation items. So kind of a one-stop shop. You can find all the info you need about a particular tag. You can see what subsystem it's in. You can find out the turnover dates. So again, we're not deviating from the norm too much on standard CMS software. We didn't try to reinvent this, the process of CMS. It's been time proven since before the 80s. The process itself, most everybody is used to how a commissioning project runs. They go from project to project and they follow the same philosophies. So we saw no point in trying to redesign that. What we did see was the point to get rid of the data redundancy from construction to startup to the owner. So we streamlined that data flow process. So construction's not coming in, collecting all the data, and then startup comes in right behind them and collects their own data, which is identical. So we got rid of a lot of the redundancies. We took a lot of the workflow processes and just turned them into an electronic format and streamlined that process. All right, so once you get your tags in the system, that's kind of step one. That's the core of what you're trying to achieve day one from firing up the CMS software. Day two, you're going to be assigning your check sheets, your ITRs to your tags, and that's what's going to be driving your subsystem completion along with punch items and certifications. So there's a couple of methods to get ITRs assigned to tags. The quickest, easiest method is to use this equipment type. So we're going to go over to our nav menu, which if you've been reading or been looking at this nav menu off to the side, if you've done any kind of commissioning before, this should all make sense to you. So our goal was not to run you through a database administration course for 2 weeks and turn you into a database administrator. The process was designed if you've done any kind of commissioning to be able to sit down in front of this and recognize pretty much about 80–85% of it. And not being trained at all, you should be able to click around and be able to do some stuff in the system. We do have a working example of that. One of the people that wanted to review it, they actually didn't want to be trained on it. They just wanted to open it and see what they could do. And they were evaluating different softwares, and we were one of 5 that they were evaluating. After spending a day with our software, they had the system mostly fully populated and running without any training whatsoever. The gentleman that was doing that, he told us one of the other softwares, he spent a day with it and he could not figure out how to get the first bit of information into it at all. It was totally blank after the first day. So our indoctrination process to get somebody up and running in this is very quick, very easy. It's a very simplified front-end software to use. So we're going to go ahead and get some ITRs assigned. Like I said, equipment type is the primary method for doing that. You can derive this using the spreadsheets or however you want to do it, but I've named this one instrument functional. So we're going to go over to the ITR section and look at the equipment types. So in equipment types, there's that instrument functional. You've already seen the use case of the plus sign here, so you click it. An instrument functional is going to get the IO51B test. You can deviate from these. You can manually assign tests against a tag, and there's ways to keep things straight in the system. But for now, we're just doing a one-to-one relation here. You can add as many tests as you want. In the background, there's a manual, auto, and semi-auto process running. So if you have it in full auto, as soon as you assign a tag to an instrument functional and you have a test assigned to it, it's going to start associating that to the tag in the background. Manual and semi-auto give you a little more control over it. So if you're just getting off the ground, getting your systemization set up, maybe you don't want to start populating ITRs until you've had some review processes. So there's ways to manage that as well. Now the ITRs themselves, we have a standard batch of templates you can choose from. It's like 800 deep. You can review those and use them. We can take your ITR templates and get them loaded into our system. And at the same time, we can take those templates and turn them into mobile optimized formats. And I'll show you what that means in a minute. So fully flexible on the ITR templates, use ours, use yours, use both, doesn't matter. So we've got ITRs in the system. We've filled out our equipment types and our relationship, and we've also on the tags assigned instrument functional to a tag. So we basically right now we're ready to start issuing ITRs and tracking them in the system. So that's what we're going to do. Close a couple of these down, and we'll leave tags up. So now we go over to tag ITR, which is the actual ITRs assigned to tags, and we pop that open. And at this point, you can, with your ITRs loaded, generate this one test here. So I've got that 0IT 77002, which is that tag we're going to be focusing on. And we have an I05 or I501B assigned to it. And I can right now go ahead and tick this box and generate the paper test. And by paper test, I'm actually referring to a PDF. So it'll take the template that you have in the background. It'll merge the data like the tag, the subsystem, location, drawing, stuff like that, standard information into that ITR header template and generate that as a PDF. You can then email that PDF, you can print it, you can do whatever you want with it. And this is what Martin was referring to as kind of the dumb technology. So yes, we did merge data into a electronic format. PDF is an electronic format, but it's not overly usable for extracting the data out of it. So if you want to do some data searches, it's going to stop at the top level with the PDF name, not actually going to be able to drill into the PDF. So if you want to go full mobile, you're still on the same page. Instead of clicking that button, you click send to mobile. So I've ticked this box. I have it assigned to me as a mobile user, and I'm going to send it to the app, which I'm logged into currently. Now, we don't expect the turnover coordinator or the CMS administrator to know all of the technicians' names. So you don't have to assign it to a particular person. You can assign it to a group. So I can assign this to the instrumentation group, and if I belong to the instrumentation group, then I can see that ITR. And then it's up to the instrumentation group to figure out what they want to do with it. They can divvy it up, assign it to individual people. They can keep it in a group format, and they do what they normally do with paper tests, where they go out and say, hey, I'm going to work over here on the south side, you work on that side. They go do their checks, and they meet up for the day and turn in all their work, basically. So again, we're not changing the way anybody does their work. We're just building the software around what they already do. So they're used to this format. We've rolled this out on quite a few projects, and the adoption of it is really, really quick. Most techs are reluctant to change. They like their paper, they like the way they've been doing it, or even if they're doing an electronic format already, they're used to it. But once they see this and we're not changing their normal workflow and we're just making it simplistic for them to use, our goal is to take any process and make it faster. If we can't make it faster for the techs, they're not going to want to use it. So we're able to make it faster now. And we definitely make it faster in the back end for these reviews. So I've ticked this one tag ITR. I'm going to push it out to mobile. It's going to filter the list here, give us a confirmation that it's been sent to the mobile device. And I've got the mobile app here. So I'm doing a screen share with my mobile app. You can see it being moved. I'm on the ITR section right now. Just slid over and go ahead and refresh the data, and you'll see that ITR pop in there. So what this simulates is the app itself. It's iOS or Android. Doesn't care which device you have. It can be your own personal phone. It can be a company intrinsically safe iPad, whatever you want, as long as it's iOS or Android. It's offline disconnected operation. Been on sites, done the work, so I know internet in the trailer is sketchy at best. As soon as you leave the trailer, typically these sites are out in the middle of nowhere. If you have self-service, then it's a pretty good day. So we do understand that internet access, whether it's Wi-Fi or cell data, is sketchy. So the app is fully disconnected, offline capable. Sync once in the morning, get your work, go fill out all your information. During the breaks, lunch, end of the day, you come back and sync again and push the data back. So we've got the ITR. We saw it pop in here, and we're not going to go through and fill out this completely. But if you notice, so this is the mobile format. It's a mobile app optimized format. It's not just a PDF thrown together. So this is the PDF itself, the mobile optimized format, which this is the exact same ITR. It uses standard mobile touch points, scroll, everything. You can do data entry, you can do yes, no checkboxes, dates, pretty much anything you can do on the paper copy, you can do on the mobile copy. And we're just going to fill out a few of these items. This one's actually an instrument cal, so you can put in, say, 4 milliamps was the baseline. Then we'll go down, put a comment in. No comment, and we're going to go ahead and start signing this off. So I'll put my name in. I can't just put my name in or put somebody else's name in. If you saw I had a list of people, you have to use a PIN code, and PIN code's optional. You can actually do signatures as well, so you can capture a physical signature on the device, but for this particular one, it's a PIN code. So I put in my PIN code. It validates the PIN code, and you go to the next step. I'm just going to put in the dates here real quick. One more signature required, and I'm doing the completed by and accepted by on this one. Not the norm, but it's an example. So we've signed that, and we'll throw the last date in. Call it September 23rd, set date, and submit. So what I did was submit that test. It went from open over here to submitted. So now this has been transmitted back to the server. Now, if I were still out in the field and had no connection, you wouldn't be able to submit it. If you just have a flag here saying that it's waiting to sync. Now that I've submitted that test, it doesn't immediately just sign it off and go right into the system, although we do have the ability to do that on certain projects. You can actually bypass that process with this approve button. This is very specific to project and whether you actually want that flexibility. So if you're doing a purely QA job and you want the QA person to have access to the approve button and not have to go through any more review, you can bypass the review slot with that. But this button comes and goes. It hides based off of the security levels and whatnot. All right, so now we're back in Tracker. We've issued that out, and we're just waiting for it to come back. When I go to mobile tag ITR review, it pulls in all of those submitted check sheets. So this particular one was submitted by me a few minutes ago, and you can now process it and stick it back in the system. So what it's doing on that process is it is taking the mobile data, which is purely accessible. It's called a JSON format, which is stored in the table. It takes that data, injects it back into the PDF because it's a form fillable PDF, and it converts it into these checkboxes and flags, filled in all the appropriate blocks, and brought in your signatures and dates and whatnot. And you can now click this, hit approved, and process it, and that attaches it to the tag, just like you've seen up here. So once I process that and attach it to the tag, it goes up into the system here, and it's now a PDF you can download. In the background, all of that mobile data is still stored in its raw format. So that raw data is now searchable and can be linked up to any kind of reporting tool you need, like Power BI or just any BI tool. So you can start doing analytics on it. And the power of BI is phenomenal. I don't know if anybody's used it or not, but you can do some really impressive reporting when you start collecting that type of data at the digital level, at the very bottom of the chain, the ITR itself. So prior to this, we could search and find out if an ITR had been done. We could open it up and look at it, but we couldn't get that physical raw data off of the ITR, not easily at least. But this stores it in the table and makes it completely searchable. And then you can do anything with it. So that was the start to finish of an ITR. But you can also, in the system, capture punch items. So back to the mobile app. And all I did was click on the punch item here. So I've got the punch list, and I can sort this by its stages, whether it's a new punch item, whether it's items construction needs to review and complete, or whether it's up to the startup and commissioning team to finalize. So you can do these quick searches right here. But you can also capture new punch items by tapping on the bottom. And we'll just fill out a quick one, and we'll give it a really bad description. Pick a subsystem, pick a location, pick a discipline. Call that one DCS, priority, we'll call that one an A. Now, just because I'm assigning these, really all you need is a description and a raise by date. Everything else is supplemental for the field guys to enter. You can review these and assign these just like you normally would when they come back in from the field. You can also reject these and send them back out to the mobile app. So obviously my description was horrible. That would mean nothing to anybody. So I'm going to go ahead and take a picture as well.
Yeah, Chris is asking that question. Does it allow for image capture on the punch list walkdowns?
Yes, we'll get a picture of my mouse here. We'll use that photo, and we'll go ahead and mark it up with a lot of yellow. Then we'll save that. So now you got the image. You can capture multiple images and mark them up. Go ahead and save that. And if you notice in the bottom corner here, you got that blue. So I've saved it to the device, but that's all it's on right now is the device. So I'm still out in the field, no internet whatsoever. Come back into the trailer and go up here and sync back to the server, and it pushes that punch item back. The blue bar goes away, so I know I've synced. And just like the mobile ITR, you're back on the punch, and you get a mobile punch review. Always like to tell a story. One of our DCS engineers, I was working for them on a project as a DCS engineer. He got put on the mid shift, and I was running the CMS software at the time as well. And he would take pictures of himself and circle his head and draw hats on himself and submit them as punch items because he was bored on the mid shift. Obviously, you don't want items submitted from the field to flow directly into the punch list, so you want to have some sort of review, just like you do the ITRs. So in the mobile punch review, There's my really bad punch list item. And again, I can reject that and send it back out to the field and put a comment as to why I rejected it. On the mobile app, the color changes to purple to let it know it was rejected, and you got to review it. But the images are there too, so it's all marked up. And then you can just process that and accept it.
So that really ticks the box of mobility. It's
yeah, for sure.
It gets processed. The input's digital, it's processed. The output's both digital and analog. We even go back and make it into a PDF. So
yeah, exactly. So that's the punch process, the ITR process. And again, I promise not to drag you through the CMS mud on this, but you can see where we took the standard workflows. We didn't create anything weird and make the text do anything weird. It's what everybody's already doing. Mm-hmm. They're already filling out ITRs in the field, paper ones. We gave them a good look and feel on a mobile device on how to fill those out. We've seen instances where people take form fillable PDFs and jam them on the mobile device, which is great if you got a giant tablet. But if you're using your phone, it's really crunch and condensed and hard to fill that out. So we took the extra step, made them fully mobile optimized. So they flow and look great on a phone, no matter what size phone, what size tablet you have. Same with the punch process. You can take the old process of the clipboard, walking around, writing stuff down, and then you come back and try to transcribe your writing. And you had 3 discipline leads firing comments at you at the same time. So you're making really chicken scratch notes like I did. And then you got to transcribe those to Excel, and then you got to import it back in. Normal process. Now we just capture them right in the field, and it doesn't have to be me entering. It could be the individual leads typing them. And the story or the saying that a picture's worth 1,000 words is that's tenfold for a punch item. I've sat in punch reviews where we were arguing over a punch item. Construction said it was cleared. The startup team said it is not, and it's been that way for 2 weeks. I finally pulled up a picture on my phone and showed it to everybody, and construction thought it was somewhere else. And then everybody was on the same page instantly with a single photo. So we knew photos were key to the punch.
So Drew, Amando's got a question here, just a general question, I think. So can this replace the planning and scheduling department?
I can definitely augment them. Schedulers tend to, they're deep off into Primavera, and they love Primavera. Primavera is a really, really solid tool. It's very complicated and detailed, but what we can do is interface with Primavera and pull in the schedule dates and automatically populate the system. If the company allows it, and that's key, if the company allows it, we can push data back into Primavera as well. So during the schedule reviews, everybody's updating all the dates. Scheduler goes back, updates Primavera for the next week, and then pushes it out to everybody. We can consume that data electronically, either spreadsheets or directly tying into Primavera with APIs, pulling that data over. And if allowed, we can change our own dates. So say we're going to go over our normal turnover date by 3 days because construction was late turning it over to us. We can adjust our projected turnover date and then push that back into Primavera. So we don't have to wait for the Friday schedule review and then everybody's updating it on their spreadsheet. So yeah, we can definitely tie into external sources like Martin was talking about. Mm-hmm. Primavera, Procore Construction, Aconex, Documentum, Smart Plant Foundations. We really don't have that many limits of what we can tie into. It's more of what the companies will give us access to. Sure. Our corporate clients, and Martin, if you have 2 seconds, I'll jump over to a different server and show some customization we did for a client. Are we good on time?
Yep, I think we're good on time. Chris has got a good question here. Is the app Siri compatible?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Is the app Siri compatible?
I actually have not tested that. I don't know. I'll take that as a lookup. I would think so if you're like using it for dictation, because it's a text field, so you could probably dictate into the field. Yeah. So I'll take that as homework and find that out.
That's good. And then Chris is asking, Chris, I don't know if you want to come in here at all, but it's quicker.
Yes, it is way quicker. I agree.
So I don't know if you want to come in here, Chris, at all, just to go through that. I'm not sure what you mean by live critical path. I guess if P6 updates on the critical path, is it backwards compatible? Maybe you can get Chris to come in if you don't mind, Chris. If it's not possible, that's also fine, but we'll see.
Working on it.
Working on it. Thanks, Emma, in the background.
Yeah, and while he's coming in, do you want me to hop over to the other one real quick? Martin?
Yes, sure.
Okay. So if you take a look on the left side here, when I went to components, it was a single page that I'm opening. We had more of a corporate client, and they wanted to do some customization, so we set this up for them. We've taken our standard model and completely modified it. So this is a project selector now. We brought in their corporate colors and really integrated it into their workflow. And one of their workflows was not to have a single component list, but to have these individual categories like civil, foundations, mechanical, and mechanical is broken down into all the normal engineering lists. So it's the same data in the background, but it's a different way to present it. So now the mechanical guy doesn't have to go filter down the master list for mechanical equipment. They would just open up this one page and pull it up. And the punch list is more robust on this particular project. So we use a lot of visual cues, green, yellow, red, shows whether it has actual images with it. So this one has a particular image, so you can click on it and bring them in down at the bottom here. So just a completely different build out for this one client, and it was not that drastic of a feat for us to do that. So we do take our standard software, which is robust enough, and then tailor fit it into your workflow process. So you're now just using the tool instead of working around the tool to do what you're trying to do.
And a good example of that, Drew, is what we did for the Brownfield suite, eh?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Were we able to get Chris online?
I don't think so. I think we were technically challenged there. Probably.
It says getting ready.
Oh, getting ready. Chris, you're getting ready. You don't have to get ready for us, mate. Just come on. Come on down.
And what Martin was referring to on the brownfield, so we picked up a client that did rapid brownfield turnarounds. So the normal model was we stand up a project in the background, then turn it over to the client, and they populate it. This particular client wanted to rapidly generate their own projects, but not only that, bring in their standard templating data so they didn't have to keep repeating the data loads. So we modified every single page in the software, and we did that in a month's time and turned it over to them. And now when they go to do a brownfield project, they create it themselves. And as soon as it's created, it brings in the punch category types like ABC. All of their normal ITR templates flow into it. It pre-populates their user list. So it does a lot of that in the background so they don't have to. So the process went from what they were using previously, it took 3 to 5 days to stand up a project with their previous software. And when they switched over to us, they can now stand up a project in about a minute. So
yeah, we thought it was important. So you guys, so everybody just sees the look, the feel, the function, the basic functionality of what we've got here. So, okay, Drew.
Yep, all good. That was everything I had, unless you need me to cover one extra thing or.
Back to the value added, probably the functionality. We're getting to that 50-minute mark now. So,
all right.
And if anybody's got any questions, please fire away. But failing that, we shall march on.
All right.
If you could take us through the additional functionality.
All right. So what TrackerCheck's doing for you, and what any CMS tool should be doing for you, is telling you that are my tags on the project completely tested and inspected? What systems are 100% complete? What kind of problems are we running into engineering construction? And that's in reference to the punch items and questions you're firing back to engineering. Were there any retests or certifications that had to be done? And I think everybody's seen that on a project. You complete something, engineering design changes a little bit, construction has to go tear it apart, put it back together, and you get to retest it. So what are we inspecting, testing next week, next month, and are we ready? So that alludes to the fact of your turnovers and tying back into the construction data. Do we have all of the cable pull paperwork? Have they all been measured, high-potted? All that type of data you can find out in the system. We can tie back to the construction side. And that's something we've done with that EPC client as well, because they do the construction themselves. As we expanded even further back into the construction side. And they're actually using our tool to report on construction now. And if you've been on projects, you know that's really key, is knowing where construction's at, because as their schedule slips, your schedule slips. So you want to be able to find out the items that you can directly go out and start testing, like cables. You can start doing your point-to-point verifications on cables even prior to turnover. Those type of items. So those are the asset integrity tool.
Yeah. Saving time.
Then the next slide. So the value functionality. So we're not just oil and gas. We're not just power. We've been in all of the major industries and we've seen the differences, and we've opened up the tool to work architecturally in the background to work with all of those different industries. Power does their turnovers 100% different than oil and gas, and renewables, it's even more streamlined. So we've integrated preservation into the tool itself. That's one thing that's overlooked a lot on the projects. And if it's not overlooked, what they normally have is spreadsheets or a very, very complicated tool. So we have preservation baked into the tool, so you don't have to keep regenerating the tags in a different system. It's got a scheduler that runs in the background and kicks out the preservation items. You saw the integrated app and the mobile optimized forms. We talked about paper versus fully digital, and then the hybrid in between. You can do any or all. We have a template-driven table of contents, and we didn't really touch on this one, but one of the other things we fixed was the actual handover process. I've been responsible for building the 3-ring binders, and when you get into the large systems, you can have up to like 5 gigantic 4-inch wide 3-ring binders that weigh 30 pounds each. Keeping all that straight and tracked, and then the pages not falling out of it, and then getting it ready for turnover. Turn it over to operations, and now they have to find a place to store a warehouse of books. From day one, that seemed a little bit cumbersome. So what we did was built a electronic table of contents, and now you can actually build out your own what I want my book to look like. And in the background, the data is just being collected for you. And when you go to do the handover, you select the subsystem, you select the table of contents, like mechanical or commissioning turnover. And then it just marries the two together, pulls all your data in, and builds an electronic PDF for you. And you can turn over the PDF, you can print it and stuff a book, whatever you want to do with it after that. But it just turns it into a simple electronic file you can do whatever you want with. So the many days or many weeks process of reviewing the paper binder is gone. You just push a button. And then I talked about the BI reporting. So we've recently incorporated a BI tool into our software. But if you have your own, like your own corporate Power BI, we've done that as well. We've given access specific data sets to the team that's going to be building the Power BI reporting. And we've seen what they've done with it, and they've built some really, really slick dashboards. And at that level, you're able to tie in all your other systems, like the construction team and whatnot. But we do have full BI reporting capabilities, either yours or ours.
That's what you mentioned before there, Drew. Once we've got the data, we can start over time to collect the data and then do something with it. Start looking at trends and insights, and again, optimize the process in the true spirit of continuous improvement. So, yeah, something that we didn't really have the ability to do when we had filing cabinets full of books, turnover dossiers.
Yeah, Normando's pointing out that they wouldn't let you bring tablets or phones. Yeah, so specifically, if you're like on an oil and gas platform, prior to bringing hydrocarbons onto the platform, you can take over devices depending on their security rules. But yeah, you could be doing it fully digital on your phones, on tablets and whatnot. But as soon as you bring hydrocarbons on, if you don't have intrinsically safe devices,
Yeah.
You need the ability to switch over to paper. So
we've got some projects running in the Middle East, Drew, haven't we? That's not allowed cameras. So, I mean, as you were saying earlier, picture's worth 1,000 words, but it is a nice to have. It's great. It's the way of the future, but it's not essential. It's not an essential characteristic of the basic functionality. So, I think, you know, obviously the system does work without all those kind of nice to haves, but
and we knew we couldn't put down a hard line in the sand and say you have to do this way every single time, because that works for about 1 out of 100 projects.
So we say that this is an 80% solution, and the further 20% relies with the client. So that could be an environmental issue, it could be a local issue, it could be a work process, a workflow issue. But the combination of the 80-20 produces, you know, that's where the magic happens, I would say.
Right. Yeah, and that 20% integration, it's not a 3-year process. We use rapid development software, so it's a lot easier for us to do it than pretty much 99% of all the other companies out there. They use traditional programming methods, and it's a lot harder to turn the ship for them, whereas we're more of a speedboat and can turn on a dime.
So for the first project, that's it. We get the results, and then we tweak and optimize for the second, and then we set and, I won't say set and forget, but certainly set and go. Yeah, good. Okay, thanks for that, Drew. Let's see where we go from here. Oh yeah, please. Just a case study that you've got here, Drew.
Yeah, so this was our integration with that EPC client, and I really like this one because one of the big things about startup and commissioning is we live and die by what construction's doing. So if they're running late, we're running late. That's just the fact of the matter. So everybody starts off with a pie in the sky vision of how the project's going to run, but as soon as you miss that first schedule date, everything starts shifting and changing, and you got to figure out ways to make up for time. So what we always do on projects I've on is start digging back into the construction tracking. And we start figuring out when cables are done. We start figuring out when individual pieces of equipment are done from a construction standpoint. And then we go do as much as we can on it without having to have the item turned over to us. So that's what this EPC is actually doing. So they do, obviously, EPC, engineering, procurement, commission, or construction, plus they do their own commissioning. So we've taken our system and we actually developed new software for them called FPMS, which basically, if you think about it, it's tracking all the, not only the pieces parts on the project, but like the concrete pours, the pilings, the cable pulls themselves. They're actually tracking that in our software. So we actually know right down to the termination of a cable, what they're doing, or the dry time on a concrete slab being ready to put down a piece of equipment. We see all of that. They're taking all that data and they're feeding it back into their BI tool, and they're combining it with our commissioning software as well. And they're getting a really, really accurate view of the project. So that's just an example of how we took our standard architecture, expanded it, and evolved it around a company to meet all their needs. They already use construction software called Procore. They have a document control system. So they already had some items. So all we did was, if you think about a glass of ice, we were the liquid. So all the pieces of ice were all those individual softwares, and we just tied all the ice together with our liquid software. So we just poured it in there, connected all the dots, and brought everything together. So that was a really good use case of how we adapt to a particular client and expand to make their processes better.
Cool. Okay, well, thanks. Anybody got any questions there? Communication is the bloodline, correct?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I don't know if anybody's got any shares or if they want to comment or anything. Oh, George, it's nice to see you, Georges. You've got a few questions, yes. During digital process reporting, can you fill the ITRs digitally or wet filing, then scan the ITR?
Yes and yes. Yeah, so you can do, you can print out the paper. They go out with their clipboard, fill them out, come back in. When the paper ITRs are generated, they come out with a QR code in the upper right-hand corner, which is unique to that tag ITR. So you just stack those up, put them in the scanner, and you get like 50 items or 75 onto one ITR. Upload that, the system breaks them apart, attaches them to the tags in the background, and you're good to go. So you can do that. You can do fully mobile. The cool thing is it's the mobile in the in-game is generating that same PDF that you're doing with the printing. So you don't have a different looking set of data depending on whether you did mobile or paper. They look the same at the end of the day.
Hope that answers the question, Georges. Maybe you could put a...
Yeah, hopefully I didn't go off topic on that one.
But basically, it is a digital sign. The input is digital.
And Chris is asking about integrated preservation tracking ability. Yes, so that's baked into the system too. One of the tabs underneath punch list is preservation. So we have a simplified preservation module built into this, and it's a very, very streamlined version of our tracker run system. So you can assign PMRs, we call them, preventative maintenance records, to a particular tag, put it on a schedule, say it repeats weekly for like motor rotations, monthly or dailies, whatever schedule you need, and it just automates and generates as you go, and you print them out, sign them off just like you would the ITRs. They come out with QR codes on them as well. So, yes.
Great. Any sort of last questions? I think we're probably just about there, just conscious and respectful of everybody's time. We're up to an hour now, which has been great. Recognizing the fact that this is only just a quick sneak peek. So please, anybody that wants to know any more information about TrackerCheck, please go to the website and you can request there a specific demo, or by all means, please reach out to us in any means that you can. Thanks again for everybody's comments and for your time. Just to recap, we went over the definitions of CMS and technical integrity. We've got a last minute question there from Georges. Does digital reporting also apply on procedures where reporting partial completion is essential?
And our stock answer on those, we have a module for that. So we have a commissioning procedure module. We haven't baked it into the software in a long time because a lot of companies have some other method, but yeah, we do have one available. And it breaks the procedures down to a step level. You can capture signatures and sign-offs and dates at a step level and then roll that up to an overall % complete by section in the procedure and then an overall for that procedure.
So in one of our major clients, Drew, for the subsea, don't they do that? Don't they have the digital kind of procedure and they go through step by step by step?
Yeah, that's correct. And some of them just do procedures as an ITR. So there's a lot of ways to skin the cat on that one. So that's one of those we just talk to the client and find out what's best for them and figure out which method to roll out for them into the software.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Georges. So yeah, definitions, concept, the objectives we went through. We've been through a quick breakneck speed demo. We went through the added value kind of functionality as well that kind of differentiates our system from what everybody else has got out there. We had a quick look at a case study, and please by all means reach out to us and request a specific demo, and we can go one-on-one and rip back the curtains and show you exactly what we've got here. So, okay. Questions and answers. I think we've been going all the way along, which has been great. Okay. Please join us next week, September the 10th, for Tracker Run, which we will be having a quick look again at our MMS, our maintenance management system. There are some big tools out there for maintenance. This is not one of them. This is very much a fit for purpose maintenance management system. So it'd be very interesting to show you that next week, I would say. And hopefully this has been of some value to you. If you like this sort of format, I just kind of recommend CPS 2020, which is October the 2nd. This is something that we're very close to. It's the Commissioning Professionals Society Symposium, a social event of the year as it was, but we are virtual this year. We've gone worldwide on this. That's just a rendering, a screenshot of the rendering, but on the day, those little people move and wander around, and it's virtually like you are at a symposium. So please go along to our website. We'll put the, I think, Emma, if you can put the, yep, she's already done it. I'll put the URL there in the chat. Please go to the chat, have a look at what we've got there, representing the commissioning, I would say, systems completion, commissioning, startup fraternity, you know, the whole community. We've got speakers from all over the world. There's exhibitors there, commissioning providers. And we would encourage you to have a look at the site and please join us on the day. Okay, so that's it. Another lunch and learn has come to an end. It's time to wash up again. The spaghetti bolognese is gone. We've got spaghetti bolognese this week, Emma, did we? That's good. All we'd ask you to do, please, is share your experiences on all the social media platforms or in conversation when you meet somebody. We're trying to get the word out there. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Any last minute comment from you, Ricky?
No, I just want to say thanks a lot. And yeah, please do take a look at CPS. It's a great event. And there's a lot of really, really impressive speakers and a lot of really impressive companies that have joined CPS. So it's going to be a really exciting event.
I think you'd enjoy the experience this year with it being virtual. So thank you, Drew. Thank you, Ricky. Thank you, Emma, for behind the scenes. And thank you, everybody, for your time today. We look forward to speaking to you again next week.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Bye-bye.